So hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and here we have card number 2 from the lot of 5 that I got sent. And this right here is a GTX 1080 from Zotac. I think this is the AMP or maybe AMP Extreme, like it's the 8-phase VCore VRM version. And yeah, so what I've been told about this card is that it has degraded memory. So yeah, so like the person that had this card had to continuously lower the memory clock in order to be able to use it until one day it would just always crash no matter how low you set your memory clock. So yeah, like that already pretty much tells us what's wrong with this card. There's gonna be a memory chip on here that's broken. And I might have to try and swap the memory chip. Now I have a dead 1080 Ti that I can take fitting memory chips off. So this is using GDDR5X from Micron. This is Micron 8GB Rev A, which is the exact same chip that 1080 Ti has, and the 1080 Ti chips actually have a higher spec than the ones used here. So the chips of that 1080 Ti will work just fine on this card. The only problem is I've never actually successfully swapped a VRAM chip before, because it is very hard to swap a VRAM chip. Like, I've practiced on a dead card, but because that card was dead, I wasn't able to check if the chip actually worked. I just practiced soldering them on, and that's basically the only experience I have. So yeah, what I'm gonna try with this card here is, so we're gonna run it, and we're gonna try to find out which chip is the problem chip. And because I want to be able to swap memory chips at some point. But I don't want to try it on a 1080 first. I want to try it on something that's a lot cheaper and, less of a problem if I break it in the process. So I'm not gonna try swapping the memory chip today. What I'm gonna do today is try a proper reflow. So what a lot of people think when they hear reflow is oh, you take a heat gun to it for about 20 seconds and then the card works again. That's not a reflow, that's a thermoshock. And a thermoshock usually only breaks your card even further. Yeah, okay, your card might be back for a day or so, but in the process, you've heated up your capacitors on the card so much that they rapidly degrade as well. And there's risk of popcorning and risk of little components flying off, and just don't heat gun cards. I made a dedicated video about this. Just don't do it. What I'm gonna do is an actual proper reflow, in which we're not just gonna heat the entire card in very quickly to hopefully realign FPGA pins. What we're gonna do is we're gonna heat the problem memory chip, if we are gonna be able to identify it, so much that the BGA balls on it actually become liquid. And in the case that the problem is caused by a BGA array that is faulty, that is gonna fix the faulty connection and the card will work again. What can also be the case is that the chip is just dead. In that case, the reflow is not gonna help. And even though it might look like it could work, because if you reflow it, you also kind of thermoshock it. That might make a faulty chip work again for a limited amount of time, but it will drop dead again, rather sooner than later. So we might have a working 1080 by the end of this, but this doesn't mean that it will work indefinitely, because reflowing chips is it's a more proper repair than just heat gunning them, but it's not a repair that you can actually sell as a repair. It's more like a temporary fix that might accidentally be permanent. The proper fix is to replace that chip, but simply because I haven't done that yet successfully, I'm not gonna try that yet. I might try it in the future if it's necessary. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna reassemble the card, put heat sinks on it so we can turn it on and then run for a bit, and I'm gonna try to identify which of the chips actually is the problem here. Okay, I ran the card. And this was actually a bit interesting in order to get the result, because when you first turn the card on, everything seems to work fine. Like it plays games, it runs benchmarks. You actually need to run the card for like a couple minutes, like 10 to 15 minutes, and then it will suddenly just artifact really, really badly, like so badly that your system will actually blue screen. And what I did then, as soon as the card was in this mode, I disconnected all the other boot drives, put in my MATS USB stick and ran MATS on it. Because I ran MATS in the beginning and it didn't actually show any errors. But once the card like crashed, so to say, and I ran MATS just after that, we did see errors on memory bank D1. So we have our faulty chip. So memory bank D1 is this one right here. So like every two chips are part of a memory channel, so to say, and you always start here and then go counterclockwise. So this is A1, A0, B1, B0, C1, C0, D1, D0. And D1 is the faulty one. So I'm gonna mark that real quick. And yeah, so we have our faulty chip. Now, ideally, again, you'd want to replace this one now. I, as I said, have a GTX 1080 Ti that has a dead core on it, which has memory modules that are compatible with this card on it. But because I have never managed to properly swap a memory chip yet, what I'm gonna do is reflow this. So I'm gonna put the card on the heat plate, gonna put some flux around this, and then take my hot air and just heat the chip enough so that the the BGA balls under the chip become soft or liquid, and in case that our errors are caused by a bad BGA, this should fix it. If the chip itself is dead, then this will probably not fix it. There's a small chance that it will appear fixed but then die later if the chip just kind of like gets thermal shocked back to life for a little bit. So yeah. So I don't really know what's gonna be the outcome of this, but yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so I've reflowed the memory module, and yeah, so now we can see if the card maybe works, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. So specifically what I did is like I put some flux around the module just to help the solder flow a bit better, and then I just took the hot air and kept heating the memory module until I thought the BGA might be, liquid, and then I took my tweezers and very gently pushed the module a bit, and I saw that the module moved. So that way I know that all the BGA balls were actually liquid. And yeah, then I stopped and let it cool, and like now it's on there again. Yeah, so you can very, very gently push the module a bit, because the surface tension of the BGA balls will push it back into place as long as you don't push it too far. And yeah, so the BGA of this module has been completely reflowed, and if that was the issue, then the card will now work. If this wasn't the issue, like if the module itself is dead, then, well, we might not have a working card, or we might have a card that appears like it's working. But if the module itself is faulty, we might have just, by just applying the heat to the module, we might have just, thermal shocked it back to life for a short amount of time. So even if the card works and doesn't crash anymore by the end of this video, I might in a while find out that the card is dead again. So yeah, maybe look out for a bit in the description or like a pinned comment. If the card dies again, like if the card ends up working here and then dies again later, then I'll hopefully remember to put it in there. But yeah, so the reflow's done. We do kind of have a bit of a mess of flux on the card now. I can't really clean that off. Like, flux is very sticky, and we're just gonna have to deal with that. You can't really see it under the heatsink anyway. I would maybe throw this in the ultrasonic cleaner to get rid of it, but honestly, I don't really care that much. I'm just gonna put the heatsink back on and see if the card works now. So, the card has now been running Skydiver on loop for about an hour. As you can see, it is quite late. So I would run it for longer, but I do kind of need to go to sleep at some point. But yeah, so like, you know, if you look at GPU-Z, everything looks fine. Temperatures are also fine, you know, because I did get the original fin stack with the card, but not the fan assembly, so I just kind of used the two case fans here. And yeah, so the card seems functional now, based on the fact that before it would crash and burn basically after about 10 minutes. It's now been running for close to an hour, maybe even over an hour. I haven't exactly paid attention to when I started it, but yeah, we're close to an hour now, and it's fine. So yeah, so there is a chance that the reflow I did has fixed the problem, in which case the problem would have been bad contact or like a damaged BGA connection. It could also be that me just heating the memory chip very quickly by quite a lot just kind of also caused a thermal shock, which means that maybe a broken connection inside the chip itself is currently realigned, but over time will fail again due to heat and electron migration and all the other stuff that happens over time. So, as I said, the card might drop dead again, or it might just keep working for a while now. The only way how I can find out is just like to use the card, like do stuff with it, and if it doesn't die, then I guess it's fixed, and if it dies, then, well, we need to actually properly replace that memory chip. So yeah, like, the GTX 260 comp is still going on, but I currently am like mid-exam period, and I don't really want to spend any GTX 260 time because that requires a lot of time, and I don't want to do that while I have to prepare for exams. So, you know, except for trying to fix the other three cards that I've also gotten in the lot with this 1080 and the 980 Ti, I might as well run the 1080 a bit, because I didn't have a 1080 before. I had a 1060, 1070, and a 1080 Ti. Now I have a 1080. So yeah, I'm gonna be using it a bit, and hopefully I will use it enough to somewhat definitively find out whether the card now works or is only temporarily revived. But yeah, so this is gonna be the end of this video. The card works now. So yeah. But for how long? I don't know. Like, if I have an update, if something happened to the card, I'll put it in the description or in a pinned comment, so check for that if the video has been out for a while. And anyway, so thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye.